What if I told you the land outside my home to the railway line and attached ground legally belongs to me, but nobody wanted me to find out? When I bought Station House, I inherited more than just a building. I inherited land, rights the previous owner didn't want me to know about. Now they're denying it. They say I don't own the land. They say we are in error, but the truth was buried in the deeds all along. When I bought Station House, I inherited land no one expected me to look for. The Solum beneath the railway line and all the attached ground to the railway line. The previous owner knew it, his solicitor knew it, but no one said a word. Why? Because they never thought I'd find out. Well, thankfully I did. And now they're trying to rewrite history. This is the story they didn't want you to hear. When we bought Station House, the previous owners told us they owned the neighbouring land, which they were not selling. Now that's what they told us. The land they referred to was the quarry and yards neighbouring Station House. When they lived here, they used the quarry as a landfill to dump their waste. So as far as the yards are concerned, this is one of the yards right here. Okay, so this is the yard that's on the other side of Station House. Station House right over there. So again, we're on the neighbouring land. The neighbouring land to Station House. It's quite a substantial yard, this is. And the previous occupiers used this yard for many years for the scrap, or the scrap that they had from Network Rail, but also it was filled. I think there's photographs online. If I can find one, I'll post a photograph up showing all of the railway sleepers that were stacked in here. It was almost full, I think, with railway sleepers in here at one point. It's just loads of rubbish. All the rotten sleepers have just been left here now. The remnants of the scrap and the sleeper business that the previous occupiers were running here. Mainly scrap and sleepers. It's like a little bit of a bay in here. So as you can see, it's quite a large piece of land. The other day I was stood up there and I mentioned this piece of land and that we were going to make a video about it. So this is the other yard. So I should also mention that this is the land that we're looking at right now, where the planning permission was granted for the timber extraction and for it to be used as a loading bay. But that planning has now well and truly elapsed and expired because they really didn't have a right in law to do it. They didn't have a right in law to use this land. Otherwise they would have got the job done, but they knew that they couldn't. They were just trying to pull a fast one. The edge of the yard, and we're looking at the old concrete bases here of Network Rail's buildings that were here, that the old occupants ripped up with his machines, tore them out the ground. Why? Because he could, and he faced absolutely no consequences for it. Because Network Rail couldn't do anything about it, because he owned the land. The previous occupier owned the land. He had every right to rip this up, and he faced absolutely no consequences. And obviously, with the yards being where they are, the train runs directly through both of the yards, through the centre, which makes it ideal for loading the timber from the forestry works onto the trains. As I am now the registered owner of Station House, I have inherited the Solum because it comes with the property. Network Rail and EE Solicitors claim we don't own the Solum, and EE Solicitors claim we are in error. That's funny because the previous owner's solicitor, a conveyancing solicitor, knows the Solum does come with Station House. The previous owners also knew the Solum to the railway line and adjoining land came with Station House. They made direct representations to us that they still owned the neighbouring land and other land.
We got all that land right the way down to the cottage.
Liar.
Bruce,
I'm not a liar.
okay.
I'm Sylvia.
I'm not going to ring your solicitor.
So you would have heard one of the previous occupiers state in the video that they own down to the cottage, which is right there in the centre of the frame. It's actually a little bit further actually, but that's, you know, probably a good landmark or point to give an indication, because the Solum actually goes round pretty much to where the edge of the trees are, just over there, sort of in between the edge of those trees and Loch Clar. So then she points up to the other side towards Station House, and she says to all the way up there. Now obviously it means they're using the yards, and they've already made mention of the yards, but when she says up there, it extends all the way to Loch Garb. When the previous owners lived here, they knew exactly what they had. Well, of course they did, because they were advised by their solicitor, and they acted on that. They asserted their rights over the neighbouring land, the same land we now claim. They stopped Network Rail from using it without their permission, but now Network Rail won't admit that that ever happened. They're trying to bury the truth and rewrite the past. The previous owner was so confident that he owns the land that he also made public statements to the press, specifically the Times newspaper, stating that he owned what he described as the quarry and the yards, a reference to the land neighbouring Station House. He also claims in the article that he is a local businessman. This is the land Bruce was referring to. This was the land he used to operate his scrapyard and sleeper business for years when his wife owned Station House. The previous owner told me that he still owned the neighbouring land. What he didn't say was that the land he was referring to was actually the Solum, the ground beneath it. And he didn't disclose that the Solum he had, in fact, that it came with Station House. Why didn't he tell me that? Because if I had known, I would have realised that, as the new owner of Station House, and now owned the Solum. During his ownership of Station House, the previous owners exercised control over the Solum by restricting Network Rail's access to and use of the land without his consent. His conduct was consistent with an understanding that title to the Solum vested in him, an understanding that appears to have been informed by advice from his solicitor. The previous owner's solicitor advised them about the Solum, And here's where it gets even clearer. The previous owner's own solicitor, a conveyancing solicitor, stated in court documents that her clients retained ownership of the neighbouring land. Let's be honest, their solicitor must have examined the deeds. She would have seen that the solemn rights to the land were legally tied to Station House. That's straight from their solicitor's own words in a court document. And as I talked about earlier, the neighbouring land. There has been no valid disposition severing the solemn from the title of Station House. The previous owner held it when he owned Station House. And now I hold it because I am the owner of Station House. Assertions to the contrary by Network Rail or anyone else are legally unsound and factually incorrect. It is notable that Network Rail, which previously respected these asserted rights, now denies their existence. This change in position is inconsistent with their prior conduct when the previous owners prevented their access. This is not hearsay, this is fact. A fact Network Rail are desperate to keep hidden.
Who was in the house before you? I don't know, did you buy the house off him or how, whatever? That's,
Yeah, the previous occupants.
previous occupants. Aye,
Yeah.
I used to see him on a Sunday morning. I don't think he'd been to bed since the Thursday, to be honest. But he always maintained that he owned this as well. That all went with the house.
He
So,
would
like,
have.
it's-
He would have. That's so.
Aye.
So like you said then, did he point out to you what area of land he claimed to own? Was it the same part, was it?
It was the same part.
Yeah.
Like he ended up getting all the scrap and stuff.
And then he charged them.
Yeah.
How many thousand did he charge them for that? Because I was it?
Was it 500 quid, I think it was?
It's £500 a day he was charging them.
For access rights.
Yeah. Also, a fact the previous owner want to keep hidden because they don't want us to claim the solemn. I'm asserting lawful ownership rights that are backed up by historic deeds, by conduct and by title. I will not allow my ownership rights to be diluted, dismissed or wrongfully attributed to third parties who have no lawful claim. Let's be clear, I own Station House, I own the solemn to the extended area of land that came with Station House. And I will not stand by while others attempt to rewrite the facts to suit their own agenda. The land is mine by law. This is not just about property, it's about the truth, title and justice. I will continue to speak out and act lawfully to protect what is rightfully mine. This is what I own. The legal mechanism to register my solemn is by registering a notice of title with the Land Registers of Scotland. This is what we believe the previous owners did. Just want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope it's filled in a few gaps, given a bit more information. I'd really appreciate it. We would really appreciate it if you were to like this video. Hit the like button and please subscribe, and we'll try and keep you updated with any further information. Thanks very much for watching. All the best.